to a brand new episode of Make, Thrift, Buy. This is the show where you send in suggestions of clothes and accessories from the impossibly expensive high street to the probably made in a sweatshop cheap fast fashion world, and then I do my best to recreate them. Today's suggestion comes from Natalie Ward, who wants me to make this witchy pentagram top. Oh wait, sorry, did I say pentagram top? I meant, of course, punk rock, gothic, goth, star straps, bust design, sexy top, long sleeves, crop top, black, white, grey instead. Yeah. Anyway, I thought this would be a really good DIY for somebody who is new to the sewing and the DIY world, because making this is pretty simple, it's also fast, and it's very effective. So, let's begin. First off, I thrifted myself a plain black t-shirt. This one was $3 from Vinnie's. I didn't get a top with long sleeves because it's currently summer where I live. The other things I'll need are some chalk to make temporary washable marks on my shirt, some black elastic, scissors, a lighter, and a needle and thread. The thread should match the color of the shirt and the elastic. Here, they're all black. And an important note about the elastic, this top will look best if the width of the elastic matches the width of the ribbing on the neckline of the t-shirt. So first, I measured out some elastic from the shoulder seam of the t-shirt down to the middle of the neckline, like this. I added about ½ inch to this length of elastic, and then using some scissors, I cut the first piece of elastic to this length. Then I used this first piece of elastic to measure it up against the rest of the elastic in order to cut out 2 pieces that are the exact same length. Next, I measured some more elastic, again from the shoulder seam of the t-shirt, but this time across to this point here, on the opposite side of the neckline, about halfway up. I cut the elastic to this length, adding ½ inch before cutting, and then I used this piece to cut out another bit of elastic that's the exact same length as this one. So I ended up with 2 short pieces and 2 slightly longer pieces of elastic, which I'm going to, from now on, refer to as elastic A and elastic B. Then I got a lighter and I quickly ran it over the ends of the elastic to stop the ends from fraying. And be careful not to set your elastic alight like I did here. If you accidentally do this, blow it out quickly because that's far more melted than it needs to be. When I say run it over really quickly, I mean don't hold it there long enough for it to catch a light. Anyway, I repeated that to all of the elastic ends. And now the elastic is almost ready to be attached, but first we should make some measurements on our t-shirt so that we know where to attach it. So I grabbed one of the elastic A pieces and I measured it out again from the shoulder seam down to the middle of the neckline at the front of the t-shirt, and then I made a mark on the inside of the neckline using some chalk where the end of the elastic rests. And I repeated this for both the elastic A pieces. They meet at the middle of the neckline here. Then I did the same for one of the elastic B pieces, measuring it out from the shoulder seam across my chest down to the opposite side, and then I made a mark with some chalk on the inside of the neckline here. And I repeated this for the other side. Then I turned my shirt inside out and I laid it flat on my table so that I can see all the chalk marks on the inside of the neckline there. So what I'm going to do next is to use a needle and a thread to attach the 2 elastic A pieces from here to here, and the 2 elastic B pieces from here to here. To do this, I placed one elastic A piece down onto my t-shirt, making sure the ends of the elastic are on the inside of the neckline. Then I threaded a needle, doubled over the thread, and I tied a knot in the end. And then I started sewing the elastic pieces on. And just a side note here, if you're new to sewing and having trouble with things like threading a needle, there's lots of good tips on my beginner sewing resource page on my website. So making sure that I started on the inside of the neckline, I brought my needle up and down through both the piece of the elastic and the shirt's neckline about 4 to 5 times. And then I brought it through to the inside again, tied a couple of knots in the thread, and cut the excess thread off. And now the elastic is attached to the neckline, and I repeated this for all the 4 elastic pieces. And it doesn't really matter what order you sew them on in. I sewed on elastic A first and then B, but just make a note that because both elastic piece A and B are sewn on at the shoulder seams, you'll be sewing through 2 pieces of elastic at one point, which can be a little bit tricky, and if you're finding it a bit too difficult to push your needle through, you'll need to use a slightly thicker or sharper needle. Anyway, with all 4 elastic pieces sewn onto the inside of the neckline, I was done. So, how does it look and how does it compare to the original? Here's a fun fact, there's no lenses in these glasses, they're completely fake. So that's it. Just make sure if you're pale like me to wear sunscreen if you do wear it out in the daylight, or you'll end up with a demonic tan. I mean, unless you want that. That's cool. Anyway, I'll see you all next time. Bye! Thank you to all of my supporters on Patreon for making these videos possible. To become a Patreon supporter, go to patreon.com/Annika Victoria. I meant, of course, punk rock. I meant, of course, long sleeves, crop top, black, grey, white. Black, white, grey! Ah!